Hello and welcome to Qsports. I'm Mamutu Kajaga. Thank you for joining us. Coming up tonight, Gambia won, the United Arab Emirates won. It ended in an international friendly in Dubai that was played on Sunday, and it's all geared towards preparations for the different countries in different competitions. One is a World Cup playoff that they're preparing for, and in the case of the Gambia, they're preparing for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers for 2023, which is going to be hosted in Ivory Coast, and that game is going to be played in Thiès, Senegal. And also, we'll be talking about sport management. How can it be improved in the Gambia? Well, I'll have somebody in the studio who would join me to talk about that. All that on tonight's Qsports. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Well, we're talking about preparations for the Gambia ahead of their AFCON qualifier game against South Sudan, which is going to be played on the 4th of June on Saturday in Thiès, Senegal. Because since Gambia have chosen Senegal as their home venue for the AFCON qualifiers so far until the Independence Stadium is fixed, because currently it's in a very bad shape and it has not getting to the standard where CAF would allow it to host competitive international matches. So in that preparation, they played against the United Arab Emirates in an international friendly. UAE is also preparing for the World Cup playoff against Australia. Well, it's a big shame that the game wasn't on television, either local or on Gambian TV. Well, that is at least from according to the Gambia Football Federation. They said the United Arab Emirates said they don't want Australia to spy on them, because since they are going to play in that playoff. But that aside, in the studio, joining me is Tijan Gay to talk about the game. The Gambia national team, the Scorpions, as they prepare to face South Sudan in the AFCON qualifier 2023 for Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is going to be the host of that competition. So the game is just almost a week away from today. That's next Saturday. It's going to be played in Thiès, Senegal at the Lat Dior Stadium. Joining me in the studio to talk about the game, but prior we will be talking about the Gambia's international friendly that they had with the United Arab Emirates on Sunday afternoon. Joining me in the studio is Tijan Gay, journalist. Sir, welcome to the studio first.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gajaga. It's a pleasure to be back at your platform.
Let's talk about Gambia, South Sudan. This is going to be their first game post-AFCON Cameroon. Of course, we've qualified for our maiden AFCON, reached the quarterfinals. Everyone is happy for that remarkable feat. But that's completely history now,
Sure.
Getting into this game.
Yeah, and I think we all know in football the most important game is the next game. What you've done in the past, it doesn't matter a lot, because to keep your job, to keep being a very good team and a team that continues to sign at the summit of African football, you need to always do better. So what we have done last Cup of Nations is past and gone. We need to go back to square one, but in a very different context. Before we were underdogs, before people looked at us and don't expect a lot from us, but now it's totally different. Now we've taken a huge step when it comes to African football. We qualified, not only qualified, against all odds we did extremely well, and we are no longer a team that should be expected to sit back against minnows. We are not a team that is expected to, of course, play a certain type of style of games. We are a team that is expected to do a whole lot of things. So the profile have changed, the expectation have changed. So the onus is on the technical side to make sure that we adjust onto the new realities of the Gambia, and facing South Sudanese side, that is minnows. We are far better than them in terms of where we are. South Sudan, if you can remember, they just broke into the scene in 2011. They're the youngest African team, the youngest nation in Africa. So we at least went to the Cup of Nations once. So we are expected to be ahead of them, and we are hosting them. So all this put together makes us now favorites. It's very few circumstances that we are favorites, and as a favorite, there are certain expected ways that you should perform, and then of course you should also play in order to win. So these are all things that are added up to the new dimension of the team. So the onus is on the coach and the technical side to look at new ways of approaching this game and winning it.
Well, it's one way of approaching that game with a friendly to play against the United Arab Emirates, where the scores ended 1-1 between the two sides. UAE scored first in the first half, and then Gambia equalized through Musa Barrow in the second half.
Yeah, a game would be very difficult for us to look at it in depth because it was never televised under some dubious circumstances, because it's hard to explain.
Rather unfortunate,
yeah,
you can't just imagine.
Yeah, because an advanced country like United Arab Emirates playing the Gambia with how advanced technology is, you cannot even have footages of that game is absolutely crazy. Whether there are arrangements that the federation do not want us to know, but it is hard to understand and consume. But all said and done, if you look at the lineup, it's a similar lineup that Tom always favors. If you look at the back four of Mohamed Sane, and Mohamed Sane playing at right back, the younger brother of Boubacar Sane, Omar Koli, and then Ibu Toure playing at left back. That is the best available option that we have. James was not available. And then if you look at the midfield, you have, of course, Suleiman Mare, Yusufa Bob Jaguar, and right in front of them is Ibrahim Adabo, immediately after winning the UEFA Conference League. And then up front, you have Musa Barrow, Ablaye Jallow, and Mohamed Badamoussi. So that is the best available lineup we have, possibly. So if Tom is going to change in our game against South Sudan, probably it's going to be one or two changes. And approaching that game, UAE certainly a pedigree higher than us. So it is understandable that, well, a draw is good for us. And this is the first time that we are playing a non-African side that we didn't lose. Remember, we played the likes of Mexico and other countries that are
Kosovo,
non-African.
Sometimes the high score lines.
Yes, high score. And the last one, I think, was New Zealand, when they lost 2-0.
Yeah.
So I think it's a positive one. But going forward, I think what is more important is for the coach to instill a new breed of style, because we cannot continue playing the way that we played in Cameroon. And we have something that is added up to our game, because for the first time since Congo, the Gambia is going to play with its fans available. Although we are not going to have the number that we used to have at the Independence Stadium, but hopefully that we'll have 10,000 people or even more than that at chess. And that's a different agitation to the team, because we all know Gambians love the tiki-taka, love the flamboyant football. And sometimes it is the fans' reaction and the fans' agitation that propels the team to play a certain way. So these are all things that Tom should consider in this particular game. If you look at Tom, naturally, I would say he doesn't love playing at home, because if you look at most of his test games, he prefers to play it away. There are a lot of things that are responsible, and I will go way back to our last qualification, 2019, against Togo here. We were playing in a certain way against Togo. Togo was one man down, and due to the agitation of the fans that he needed to change things, he withdrew Ibu Adams and then put in a more attacking team. At one point of time, we had Ali Sow, Hassan Cisse, we had everybody, all our forward players, and Togo ended up winning.
Winning?
In dramatic circumstances.
Yeah, dramatic circumstances. It was the only goal of the game,
coach,
and then it came in the last minute.
Yeah, the coach wasn't happy. The coach wasn't happy, and clearly after that, you would know that the coach, there is a certain way of play that he doesn't like. There are certain players that he doesn't like because that doesn't suit his style of play. And playing at home, the fans normally agitate the team. Sometimes players play not according to the coach's tactics, but play according to the agitation of the fans. And that is not something that he likes. And possibly that is one of the main reasons why whenever he has opportunity to play test games, he normally wants it to be away, not here. Not once that we played home test match. Since after that, there was COVID, but post-COVID, there were possibilities for us to play at home, and we never played at home.
So does it really matter the style of play? Yes, in the AFCON, I've been one big critic of the coach. In fact, my news editor, Ade Darame, have always lambasted me that, look at you. Every time you complain, he keeps you to tell you that, eat your words. So for me, I'm a fan of the tiki-taka style. I'm sure yourself, being a supporter of Arsenal, of course, there's no doubt about that. So we all want to watch lovely, but at the end of the day, is it the result that matters? Because when we played against Chad for the playoff, that particular time to get into the group phase, it was nearly a scare. We needed a last-minute penalty to be able to get through into the group phase. So you could see they possessed the ball very well, but maybe that was against Chad. But in a normal game, Tom would, sit back and hit on the counter.
Right. If you are an adherent of what Arsene Wenger conceptualized football is an occasion whereby, of course, people express an art. He considers football an art. So you want to win, but you have to express yourself in such a way that you make people happy. If you're a Mourinho adherent, he just wants to win. And I can say, looking at Tom, he's more closer to Jose Mourinho in terms of conception. All he wants is to win. It doesn't matter how you win. Okay, you would of course always try to give Tom credit, because many coaches tried different tactics and played the flamboyant football. They never qualified us.
Yeah.
He came with his tactic, qualified us. That was his first CAN, but Tom had spent nearly 25 years coaching in Africa, so he knows Africa. And I can tell you, it is because of his negating, what we perceive as negating tactics, that got us to the quarterfinals. Possibly if he did play an open football, we would have been knocked out maybe in the group stages. Yeah, but that worked for him. But that was a profile that suited Gambia as minus. Now Gambia cannot play, let's say, remember when we played Chad were the minus, we were not the underdogs.
Yeah, of course.
And then we played a certain way, we nearly got kicked out.
Kicked out, yes.
So you cannot go up to the quarterfinals of African Cup of Nations, come and play a team like Sudan, South Sudan or Chad and play in a certain way. You cannot do that. So it's now time for him to rise from that negating tactic to something different, because you are expected to win against certain sides. You are expected to entertain your fans, and that is something that he needs to look at and work onto, because against Chad, that nearly taught us a lesson. So we don't want a repeat of that against South Sudan, because the opposition in front of you gives you the agitation. For example, if Gambia is playing, like, let's say, Nigeria, you know that Nigeria is on top there. You have to go the extra mile, extra determination. Probably you know that I cannot match them when I play flamboyant football. But if you're playing South Sudan, you look at all their players, they are playing in the South Sudanese league. Would you be conservative? Would you play a certain way? Your mindset would not tell you that. So that has completely changed from how Gambia was before CAN and that CAN to how Gambia is. And Tom needs to put that into context. The earlier the better, because if he doesn't do that, we are going to be caught in between two walls in terms of conception and principle of play. And if you are caught in between two walls, don't have a clear idea of what we want to do, then that's going to be a huge problem for us.
Looking at the venue, playing in chess is closer to home, but not exactly home. How would it play into this game? A completely different environment. Yes, the weather might be the same with Senegal, but even the pitch and all of those things are circumstances.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's rather unfortunate. Could you imagine, since before CAN, since before we qualify, the climax of qualification to what we did, the Gambian people never had the opportunity to say thank you to their players. That's a very sad story.
Yeah.
Look at it overall. Yeah. The last time that we played with the stadium open to the fans was against Congo, when we drew 2-2.
Yes.
After that, we never played with our fans present. Even when we qualified against Angola here, the fans were not here.
Yeah, yes.
When we went to the AFCON, did brilliantly well. When we are coming back, we never even had the opportunity to welcome the players. So it's crazy. But all this put together might be to our advantage, because the players want their fans to be there. The fans want to see their players for the first time since AFCON. So all this put together might get a lot of people traveling all the way to Senegal to support the players. And I hope and I believe there would be that ambience, there would be that connectivity between the players and the fans. And if that is done, I don't see any reason why we cannot win. And we need that. The players need that. Remember when we were playing Chad in Morocco, which was supposed to be our home, you have more Chadian supporters than Gambian supporters. When you're watching the game, whenever the Chadians hold the ball or were attacking
you could get it from the background.
Yeah, so that is rather unfortunate. I would prefer playing in Senegal with 5,000 people rather than playing in Morocco with 2-3 people. But the onus is on the organizers to make sure that they create an atmosphere where we feel like home. That can be down to the supporters, down to the organization, down to the families of players. Everybody have to be present, so that if a player looks up, he will see people that he knows, and that is going to help us a whole lot. But by September, we need to do something so that we can be back at our own independent stadium. Finally,
does our strength lie in some of the players who are in top form at their clubs? Hassan Cisse just won the league for FC Zurich, contributing a lot of goals, scored at least 21 goals in the league competitions and plus other matches that he played as well. Musa Barrow really played. The goals haven't come that much, but he really did very well for Bologna in the Italian Serie A. and you have other players, James Gomez helping his team to get to promotion in the Danish Superliga now, and you have a host of other players who did have a very fantastic league. Could that also really help Tom and his team?
Yeah, I think for the past 18 months, Gambian football have really rose to prominence in terms of the national team, in terms of individual players. If you look at Omar Colley, have been there over the years with Sampdoria, have established himself as a regular. Dembo Dabo winning the Golden Boot at their domestic league twice. We've seen Hassan Cisse scoring 20 goals, Ibrahima Dabo winning the Europa Conference League. So we have a whole lot of players. Ibo Adams getting promotion with Forest Green Rovers, now signing with Cardiff City. So overall, Gambian football have rose to prominence. Well, coming back to the team, I think Tom have set up a team whereby he doesn't rely on anybody and does not leave anybody out. What I mean by that, the team at one point of time, we have a whole lot of players that were just trying to be the main focal point of the team. Hassan at one point of time stole the show, being the player that always scored the goals. And then we went up to the AFCON, then Musa Barrow came. Yeah. Well, it is down to tactics, but the coach have put up that team whereby somebody can just suit in a particular tactic and then, of course, be the main star player. Musa Barrow became the main star player alongside Ablaye Jallow. Exactly. Let's not forget Ablaye Jallow.
Exactly.
Yeah, Musa Barrow scored some crucial goals, but Ablaye Jallow made the team tick very well. So these two players were the standard player. Another player that stood out was James Gomez, because I looked at him, I said, this is the future rock solid defender of the Gambia. And these are the three players that really rose to prominence in the AFCON. Now we saw when we were playing against Chad, we seen Hassan come back and show everybody that I can be the star player of the team, which is good for competition. But you look at it, it also have some disadvantages, because I think in a national team, you have to build a team around certain individuals, even if they don't do very well at their clubs, but because of the history, because of what they've done with the team, because of the experience they have, you always have to build it around these people, because with national team, you don't have time to play every other week. You play every other 2-3 months. And that could be a disadvantage. I don't see, well, it is competition and it should be competitive, but I believe the team have to be built around 4-5 integral players. Come what may, if they are not injured, those players have to be there, because even if you go to France, even if certain players do not do very well at their clubs, when they come, Deschamps would, of course, always choose them. If you look at the Atletico Madrid player, Griezmann, he is not the best in the best of form, but at France, he's always an integral figure. National teams are always like that. But, well, I hope Musa Barrow scores the goal for us, Ablaye Jallow coming back, Abdoulaye Bamba Sanyang, Hassan, these are all players that can make difference for the Gambia, and I hope and believe they can do that against South Sudan.
Well, Sesi Jan, it's never enough to get you on a discussion like this. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to get you again.
Yeah, the pleasure is always mine to be at your platform, and hope to see you again. And finally, all the best of luck to the Gambia. Let's go there and win against South Sudan, and then get a positive result in Congo to kickstart with possibly 6 points or 4 points.
And now on Qsports, let's talk about sports management. How is it in the Gambia? How does it need to be improved? Because it seems there are lots of lapses, lots of gaps in terms of the development of the game. We really need structures. And talking about those structures is Jibril Tamba. Jibril Tamba is somebody who studied sports management, sports administration, how it needs to be structured very well. We also have him in the studio. We're talking about sports management, the managing of players, the managing of teams, and as well as even managing of sports business. And joining me in the studio to talk about this is sports enthusiast, sports person who has been advocating for a proper management of sports, especially in the Gambia. Jibril Tamba, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Gajaga. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you, and let's talk about sports management. When we talk about sports management in the Gambia, we're just talking about owning a team, having a group of players to manage as a coach. Are we talking about also the business aspect of the game? Because sports is a business. It's no longer leisure. Yeah, it's no longer you play for a particular team just for fun.
Just for fun, yeah. Actually, it's like when we talked about sports, basically it's not just for football or managing a club. Sports is general. Any sporting discipline you talked about, it's part of sports. Managing sports, it requires a lot. For example, when we talk about different disciplines that we got in sports, different organizations, different departments. For example, in the Gambia here, we got the Ministry, Youth and Sport, we got the National Sport Council, we got the Gambia Football Federation, we got the National Athlete Association, just to name a few. So these are some of the examples when we talk about management. So one has to be under those areas, or you have to own a club or any sporting department to be a sport management.
So now let's focus here on the business aspect of sports, because these days sports has been an industry that brings billions of dollars. As in this part of the Gambia, you can play in the Gambian Football League and, you know, probably get an allowance. I wouldn't even call it a pay. Because if you give somebody at the end of the month $500, it's 1,000.
Unfortunately, in the Gambia, we're not lucky.
Yes. So you also have other sports where you are not being paid at all.
Oh,
even
yes.
there are some footballers who play in the second division that I know.
They just sacrifice. Even in the first divisions.
Yeah.
We got players playing gym in, gym out, and they're not getting paid. For me, the problem is, as what I used to advocate, and I'll continue advocating for that. Club owners, let them try and set up structures for their clubs. For example, Real de Banjul, I would always take an example for them. They're a very well structured team. So every club should be like Real de Banjul, or even they should try and be more than Real de Banjul. Because marketing, like as you said, sport is business, not only football. So marketing should be part of every club's objectives. Let them appoint people who did sports management or even marketing, business marketing, it's all the same. Let them appoint them to be their club's marketing managers. At least those people, they'll be responsible to lobbying funds, looking for sponsors for the club. And those funds, they will use it to pay salaries for their players.
Also, we've seen a trend in this country, still, it talks about the management of sports. People being a coach or a president of a club, literally, you are Mr. Everything. You're the Secretary General of the club. Okay, even though there is a secretariat to say there's this department, this particular person is our secretary, but you have the club president running everything. And this is for every sport. We're not only talking about football here. So this happens a lot. How does this affect the structure, the effectiveness of particularly development of sports, especially in the Gambia?
In the Gambia. For me, it's like every department or every football club or every basketball club, when they set up their structure, the rules and responsibilities should be outlined to every person holding every position. If you give in any position in the executive, make sure that you holding that position, you know what the position requires. Like the rules and responsibility. I cannot be handling a position of a club president. I don't know what is the rules and responsibility of being a club president. If it is given to me and I cannot take it, I don't know what it takes, then I have to complain. This is not what I can do. Give me what I can do. So let people appoint people based on what they know, what they can do. Don't just appoint Mr. Tamba because you know Mr. Tamba or you think he can do it. In management, there's nothing like I think. You have to be sure if I appoint this position, Mr. Gajaga to this position, he will run it up to my expectation. If he does not, then he's not fit to be there. So this is another problem here in the Gambia. We've seen different departments. People are manning positions and they're not fit to be there.
Let's talk about still the business aspect of the game.
Yeah.
So, for example, you own a basketball club and a football club. Okay, you have all the structures. That is the marketing that you were talking about. You have a secretariat. You also have maybe even a media unit with all these structures. But now the funding, commercialization. Most Gambian companies are not very much interested in sports, even if they are interested in sports. But what would sport bring to them?
Mr. Gajaga, sports is international, you know.
Yeah.
It's not only local or national in the Gambia. Be in football, basketball, karate, whatsoever. If you have your marketing manager and the marketing manager knows his roles and responsibilities, as a marketing manager of that various club. Marketing, it goes in different way. You can do online marketing, digital marketing, doing marketing to lobby funds for your organization or, for example, your club. We're lucky in the Gambia here, we got these graphic designers. Get your logo, everything for the company, what you need.
So sort of a branding.
Sort of a branding.
Yes, if you
and
have a
then
club
make advertisement, let people know what you have. And then sell it.
Kind of selling a product.
Selling a product, sell it to people. You understand?
But you remember your product have to be good enough.
It has to, but we got people who are good in that in the Gambia. So basically people living in the Gambia doing those things for the clubs, let them do branding for their clubs. Let them sell their activities, let them sell their products. Let them have events to sell it, to market it. They're getting players, managing players, but how are clubs managing those players? How are they selling players? This is also another area. And then it's very important, clubs can generate fund income for players they're selling in and out. But how many clubs are selling players in the Gambia here?
Well, that's it for Qsports, and we're looking forward to the Gambia-South Sudan game on Saturday, and we'll give you updates as to the result of the game in the next edition of Qsports. Thank you very much for watching, and join us next week. Keep on sporting. Bye for now.